Summerween, this is Summerween, 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 Summerween. Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to be doing a vlog for Summerween. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is a readathon hosted every summer by Gabby and Olivia, and it's just a ton of fun. It actually hit me at a really good time because I am in the thriller mood, and I don't get in a thriller mood very often. Like, I'll get in the mood for horror, but thrillers, I have to really specifically want to read them. Otherwise, I tend to find them a bit ridiculous and I don't always enjoy them. So I'm loving the fact that this came at such a perfect time where I am wanting to read thriller and horror books. I will admit that I started a little bit early for this readathon just because I was in the mood. So I'm actually stretching Summerween for about 10 days instead of 7 to get in all of the summer thrillers and spooky books that I want during this time frame. So I have got my spooky mug. And let's quickly run through the books that I'm thinking about getting to this week. Okay, so most of these are summer thrillers. They are books that I went to the Barnes & Noble by my house and was like, oh, I really want to read that. It's on sale. I might as well grab it. So a lot of these books are those. They just recently came out, new releases, things that I'm really excited to get to. One of the first ones that I've got is The Drowning by T.J. Newman. This is a plane crash thriller. I don't think there's a lot of mystery to it. It's just a pure thriller about a plane crash and saving Flight 1421. So I've heard really good things about this one. It's super, super short. Like, the audio's 7 hours, I think, on single speed. So I'm hoping I can knock this out really quickly. Then another one that just came out that may seem a little counterintuitive, and if you guys have noticed, I'm not necessarily sticking to the prompts. There are prompts, but I'm probably just going to look at the end and see how many of the prompts I managed to fit, and if I didn't manage to get one and I'm really, really close, I'll just try to squeeze in another book. But I'm just mostly going off of vibes for this readathon. No lie. Pure vibes. So the second vibe is the new Darcy Coates, which is Dead of Winter. Yes, you heard me correctly, Dead of Winter. This book just came out, but Darcy Coates lives in Australia, so for her, it's winter. For me, it's 95 degrees outside. But I thought that this might be a good way to kind of break things up. It is a horror thriller. I think a little more thriller for her than normal, but I just kind of wanted to read about something cold while it's hot outside. Then one that literally just came out, like, I found it at my Barnes & Noble super early, and I wasn't planning to read this one, but I read the first like 2 pages and was instantly hooked and knew I had to pick it up, and that is Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. This one is about a woman that was the child star of a cult classic 90s horror movie where everyone died after the movie was filmed, and now she is a journalist and her editor has sent her back to LA to cover the reimagining of this guest house horror movie. I loved the first couple of pages, so I'm very excited to read this one. And as you guys can tell, like, as you will probably tell later in the video, I am filming this intro a little bit later, so that's why some of these books I don't necessarily have until later in the video, because you'll find out. One of the other ones is Eric LaRocca, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There. This is a collection of short stories, and I think one of the prompts is to read a novella. This is like a collection of short stories, but it in and of itself is 200 pages, and it's, you know, short with large font. So I'm hoping that I might be able to read this one. I've never read an Eric LaRocca book before. I was gonna read the black one that just came out of his, but it has proven slightly hard for me to get my hands on. So I grabbed this one, and we'll see. Hopefully I will like Eric LaRocca because I feel like everyone does, and I need to know what all the hype is about. This is going to be one of the horror selections. And last but not least, I can't forget 2 of the most anticipated, most popular summer thrillers. The New Ruth Ware and The New Riley Sager. So The New Ruth Ware is about a couple that is pen testers, and I think that they are used to like test companies' penetration systems. And I've heard that this is more of a thriller from Ruth Ware rather than her typical mystery style, which I prefer. So I'm hoping that I will really love this one. And then, of course, The New Riley Sager. I will be honest, I have no idea what this is about. I kind of want to keep it that way because, like, I don't know. I don't like to go into thrillers knowing a whole heck of a lot. Like, the basic premise is good enough. So I don't really like to read the synopsis, but I will read, like, the big tagline. It's a deliciously twisted gothic chiller about a caregiver assigned to work for a woman accused of a Lizzie Borden-like massacre decades earlier. I'm sold. I love it. I'm so excited to read this one. Riley Sager's one of those authors that I just keep coming back to. I love, but he's had some books that are 5 stars and he's had some books that were like a 1 or a 2 star. So it just kind of depends, but I'm in the thriller mood, so I'm hoping this will be another win for me from Riley Sager, and I'm so excited to get to this one. So there you have it, my tentative TBR for Summerween. I think I have a pretty good stack here, a good mix. We've got some true thrillers, we've got some horrors, we've got some that are kind of in between, a little bit of mystery, and yeah, I'm super excited to start this readathon and read all the things. Like, I haven't been in a thriller mood in so long, and I am so excited. So come with me, let's go, let's have a great time. Hey guys, so I finally need to film an update because I've accidentally gotten a bit further in my first book than I originally planned before telling you guys about it, but I am about 50% of the way through 0 Days by Ruth Ware. This is probably holding this up. It's going to wash me out miserably, but we're just going to ignore that. This book. So first, let me tell you what it's about, because I did not know at all what it was about. I was told not to read the synopsis, the flap, and I still have not done that, so I'm not really sure what that says in case it spoils something later in the book. But hey guys, so editing Mel popping in here to say that I probably gave away too much and more than I meant to when I was telling you guys about the Ruth Ware synopsis, and when I was editing, I was like, probably told you more than I should have, so I'm going to cut that out and I'm going to give you a different synopsis here. Basically, this opens with a wife and husband who are, I think they're called pen testers, where basically they test to see what companies need to do better in regards to like a penetration of their system or a like leak in their system. So he's a hacker and she goes in and like tries to get through all of their defenses and get through doors and get to their server rooms and all of that to see if it's something that people could legitimately do, and then they give them notes on that. And something goes wrong when they're on their latest mission, and it causes a chain of events that goes really, really badly for Jack. And that's all I really feel like I need to tell you. The first chapter pretty much is that, and I think the first chapter is really well done, but there is a sort of pseudo twist that happens in the end of the first chapter that I feel like I did kind of give away in my previous synopsis, so I wanted to basically cut that part out, and hopefully I didn't do it again later, but if I did, I'm really, really sorry. It's in the synopsis of the book on the flap, but I was told not to read the flap, and that was why. So anyway, I'm gonna go edit that part out and edit this part in now. This was not at all what I was expecting this book to be. I don't know what I was expecting it to be, but that was not it. This one definitely leans more into the thriller side of things than Ruth Ware typically does. I find that most of her books, at least lately, have really leaned into the mystery element, but this one definitely leans more into the thriller rather than the mystery. And I'm really liking that. I think that the pacing so far has been well done. I'm not bored. I constantly am wanting to pick it back up and get more into it. However, one thing that I can say is this is requiring me to suspend disbelief. Right now, that's okay. It's still fun, but there may come a point where it makes me suspend a little bit too much. There are a couple of things with the logic that I'm just really having a hard time with. Some of them I can wash away as like, okay, maybe I wouldn't have handled it that way, but I can see where somebody in complete distress, having no clue what's going on, just being distraught and grieving, might make some really poor decisions that your average person of completely sound mind, not in a stressful situation, would make. So that kind of stuff I'm kind of sweeping under the rug and allowing to just bounce off of me a little bit. But there are other things with other like family members and friends that I'm like, would you do that? Maybe you would do that because it's your family member, but like, would you though? So there are definitely a few things in here logic-wise that I'm having a little bit of a hard time with. If it stays kind of where it's at, this could be a 4-star, but I have a feeling that logic is going to remain an issue for me. However, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think that, like I said, the pacing's done well. Jack is slightly annoying, but doesn't annoy me as much as a lot of thriller main characters do, and it's fun. It's definitely much faster paced than Ruth Ware normally is, so that is not at all what I was expecting. But I am probably gonna go do some sprints tonight. It is pouring down rain outside, so it's just a good night to cozy up with a thriller and forget the world because your girl is tired. I am so tired, but I'm looking forward to just doing sprints and hanging out and having a good night reading a book. and that's what I'm gonna go do. So I will talk to you guys later when I've read more of the book, but for now, I have got my blanket, I've got my phone, I've got my Dr. Pepper, and I am ready for a cozy night in.
For a second, I couldn't find the words to reply. Then, I did begin spitting them into the receipt box that took me by surprise. Fuck you.
On his bone back here. He is like going to town and having a fantastic time. So hopefully you can't hear him smacking, but I wanted to let you guys know that I did listen to a little bit more of 0 Days last night. I'm really not that much further than I was before, maybe like 75% of the way through, and I am starting to get a little bit bored, which I hate to say in a thriller, but things are getting relatively predictable. I will say that kind of who took out the insurance policy and all of that is I like saw it coming. But there is a lot of repetitiveness in this. A lot of the scenes are just different locations, but they're the same thing. It's very one note where she's investigating something and then she has to run somewhere and then she runs some more and then she does this and then she runs some more, and I'm just like, okay, let's investigate more, or let's do something. You know, I need there to be a little bit more to it than that, and I am struggling with the repetitiveness of it. Doesn't mean that this is a bad book, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to give it a 1 star, but I am getting a little bit bored. The suspend your disbelief is getting harder and harder to do. It's not that some of them I can completely overlook. Like, some of her decisions, I'm like, okay, this is a high stress moment. I can see where you would. However, it's getting to a point where I'm like, okay, now Ruth Ware is just writing this in to keep the plot moving, and it doesn't feel like the character's making the decisions anymore. It's like it's completely taken me out of the story. I want to feel like I am watching a action movie or something like that. I don't want to feel like I'm reading a book, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to be aware of the fact that I'm reading a book and that this is fiction and not reality. And I want my heart to be pounding with her. I want to know what's going to happen next. But unfortunately, I feel like I'm reading a book at times because it's just like, okay, here we go again. Let's do this again. So it's taking me out of the story, I guess is where I'm going with that. Anyway, I don't hate it. I'm definitely going to finish reading it. I am engaged and intrigued. I wish it would kind of get a move on a little bit. Okay guys, so I wanted to tell you that it is a new day and I have finished 0 Days by Ruth Ware. I liked this one. I won't say that it's going to be a new favorite thriller, but I did have fun with it. For the most part, I was engaged. I wanted to know what was going on. I was, not wanting to put it down, really wanting to pick it back up. I will say that at about the 50-60% mark, I started to get a little bit bored with the repetitiveness of it. It's not necessarily that I was bored with the book, but I was bored with how much the formula was not changing. It was very much so, Jack gets into a situation, cops come, Jack needs to get out of the situation, and it was just very formulaic. I will say that this is very predictable. The list of suspects is small, and the way that things kind of shook out, I was not at all surprised by and called about halfway through, maybe even a little more than halfway through the story. But I still had fun with it. I'm one of those people that super shocking twist only impressed me if you had enough sprinkled along the way that I could have guessed it if I'd been paying enough attention. Whereas some of those like huge red herring twists that just completely shock and awe the reader, if they are completely illogical, they annoy the crap out of me. So I would prefer there to be an ending that shocks me that I could have seen coming if I'd been paying enough attention, or an ending that didn't overly shock me but makes perfect sense. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that wants a thriller that's just like completely off the wall plot twist that really didn't make any sense, but you didn't see it coming, but it didn't make any sense. I don't know. I might eat those words because occasionally I do like a good shock thriller, but most of the time I want there to be logic and reason to my stories. This one did require me to suspend a little bit of belief, but at the same time, I do think that it did a pretty decent job of staying true to the characters. So even if, you know, these aren't the types of decisions you would make, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where like, no, sitting here in my house, completely logically thinking about it with no stress, would I have made that decision? Maybe not. But super high stress with a policeman like staring me down saying that I killed my husband and that they fully believed it. Yeah, I might make some dumb decisions when all of that starts happening. So I think in that case, this is a suspend your belief with the understanding that like, it's kind of like a slasher movie. Things just happen. So I ended up liking this one. I think it's going to be a high 3-star just from the repetitiveness of it. I haven't put it through my rating system yet, but it could end up maybe being a low 4-star. I don't know. Still thinking on it, but I did enjoy this one. I would recommend it if you are wanting a more thriller from Ruth Ware, but you like her writing style. You just find that normally her stuff is a little bit slow. I would not go into this expecting some kind of, you know, huge red herring off the wall crazy ending. That's not really what this is intended to be. But if you're just looking for a solid mystery thriller, this one is a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna go wash my hair because it's been too long, and then I'm going to read some more and possibly finish up The Drowning. I'll tell you guys about that when I get back, but I have been listening to that all day today. It is so short and just super easy to fly through. Okay. So I am now freshly showered and hair done, whatever I'm gonna do with it. But I want to talk to you guys about The Drowning by TJ Newman. This is a new like summer thriller that I've been seeing everyone talk about. I think that he wrote another plain thriller a couple of years ago, last year, I don't remember. And I kept seeing it around, but I never got a chance to read it. So when I saw this one pop up and everybody was having such a good time with it, I was like, okay, I have to read that one. This is about a plane that takes off and then suddenly everything goes wrong and it crashes, and it's the fight for survival and the fight to save all of the passengers on this plane. It is definitely a thriller. There's no mystery here. This is just a breakneck speed from start to finish, and I enjoyed it. I think that maybe breakneck speed start to finish thrillers are never going to be 5 stars for me just because I have a hard time with connection, and if I don't feel connected to the story and to the characters, then the heart-pounding thrillerness of it doesn't ever hit me like it should, if that makes sense. So while I thoroughly enjoyed this, I definitely wanted to continue picking it up. I thought that it was engaging, and like I said, it was easy to just pick up and not want to put down. It really wasn't one of those that I was connecting with, heart-pounding. It was just something that I was listening to and having a good time. It wasn't necessarily something that I was like having to flip the pages because I couldn't stop because what was going to happen to these characters. I felt very removed from the situation. And I don't necessarily think that that's the book's fault. I think it's just, it starts off like instantly with this plane crash within the first 5 pages. And I wish that we had had a little bit more lead up. These characters from their different perspectives with different things going on in their lives as they're boarding the plane and why they're on this plane. We do get a little bit of that, but it's very much so centered on 2 or 3 particular characters. It's not necessarily on all of them. And so you really only care about one person on the plane or one like family on the plane. So I just wish that that had been done a little differently. I would have liked like 20 pages of setup just to kind of get me introduced into the story and what was going on and the characters, maybe even with a little prologue that was super action-packed to get me engaged. But I just felt like we hit the action way too fast and never let up to the point where I was like, okay, we're chugging along. But I never felt super immersed in the story. So I think that's a me thing. I think that that's just what I prefer in books and in thrillers. I just need a little bit more something to latch onto to feel that gut-wrenching, pounding adrenaline. But I think that this book does do what it set out to do. I'm glad I'm not getting on a plane in the next like 2 months. That's great, or at least not that I'm aware of, because it's definitely triggering, I would say. If you are scared of planes, scared of plane crashes, don't read this. This is not for you. Just don't do it. But yeah, I think that it was fine. It was an easy read in one day, super fast paced. I guess it's probably around a 3-star. That one is done. Next up is possibly going to be The Only One Left, or maybe Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I'm not sure which one I want to pick up next, but those are definitely 2 that are on my radar still for this week. So So I'm gonna go. I'm definitely in the reading mood, so I'm hoping to get a little bit more read tonight, and I'll check back in once I know what I'm reading and have gotten a little bit further into it. So this has literally nothing to do with reading, but I just wanted to show you guys how crazy my dog is being right now. I'm eating dinner and he wants it so bad he can't stand it. So we have French fries and like, look at him. Just, I need you to look at him. You don't need my French fries. What was that? All right, so now that I am fed and he is occupied and not wanting my food anymore, I did want to talk to you guys about Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. This one is one that I was not really planning to read right now. It's obviously not cold outside. I live in Alabama. It's hotter than the 7th level of hell right now. But as a matter of fact, I just walked outside a few minutes ago and it started raining and the atmosphere just feels like an elephant sitting on you. Just a wet elephant sitting on you. But I do love the rain and I do love a good summer thunderstorm. So anyway, that's gonna make perfect reading weather here in a minute. But I am on chapter 19, which is page 90-ish, somewhere around 100 pages. Yeah. And I like this one so far. I don't think it's going to be my new favorite Darcy Coates. I did get a little bit bored. Like the beginning was really strong and then we kind of lulled a little bit and then now it's starting to pick back up again. Basically, we have this crew of tourists that are on their way somewhere. Where are they going? Through the Rocky Mountains, and their bus gets stranded and then people start dying one by one. And our main character, Krista, has lost her husband and she, like, there's no body. She just is constantly looking for him and things are starting to go wrong. It's a terrible description, but this doesn't appear to be a haunted house story like Darcy Coates usually does. I love her writing. I always like her writing, but there's just something missing in this one. I think I just maybe don't love Krista. There's one thing that she keeps doing, which is talking about these premonitions that she's having that something bad is going to happen. All bad things are happening. And I don't know why we're not just calling it like a bad feeling that they're all going to die or something like that. But I don't know, just the way it's phrased is annoying me. I just, right now, like, I'm waiting on a little bit more to happen than just people getting picked off, because I feel like that is something that you see a lot, and I just am waiting on something a little bit different. But the scenes and how they're getting picked off is very creepy, very ominous. I think she's doing a great job with that. So still liking this, I just don't know that it's quite giving me the setup creep vibes that Darcy Coates usually does. We got straight to it, and there wasn't really a lot of setup, so maybe that was part of it. This is definitely an isolated setting, one by one trope, and I think that I'm going to really enjoy it. I'm hoping to read a little bit more of this maybe tonight. Yeah, I think that that's all that I have for you guys. I think I may jump on sprints with Lexi, and you guys hear me talk about jumping on sprints all the time, so I'm gonna go and do that. Okay, so pardon the not super great quality of this right now. Normally I have my camera and I even bring it with me when I'm going to be filming in the car, but I had an impromptu meeting come up and it was later than I expected it to be for work. Normally I'm off around 12, but the meeting can't be until 2. So I decided, of course, what better way to kill time than to go to the bookstore. So I'm going to go in Barnes & Noble. As far as I'm aware, they're still doing their triple stamps. So we'll see what we can get. I have had my eye on the new Eric LaRocca, and I want to see what else I can find. We're also going to go to the Starbucks in there as well. So let's go. Okay, I'm sorry. I will make this quick. I have to have the air on. It is like 90 something degrees and I can't do it without the AC. So, my phone's doing some flashy weird stuff. Let me show you guys what I decided to pick up. I got three books, but one of them you guys that are watching this vlog probably won't care about. I grabbed The Will of Many and I'm going to have regrets, but I did it anyway. The others that I got were Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. This one, I don't know if I'm going to read for Summerween because it's set in my birth year and everyone is obsessed with 1994. That's kind of like the tagline of this. And so I'm like, should I do a vlog reading a book obsessed about me? Sounds very, self-assured, but it also could be kind of fun. So let me know if you would want that down below in the comments and I might can make that happen. But Kayla just read the first chapter of this for her potential Summerween TBR. She thought it was very good, high intrigue, said it might be a little supernatural, so I definitely wanted to grab this one. And then this one's one that I only read like the first couple of pages of but knew I had to grab, and that's Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. This is about a woman that was the star of a 1990s cult classic movie, and people were like dying on set, kind of like The Exorcist. And many years later, they're going to like remake this movie, and she kind of panics. This is a very R-rated book. Like, we are cussing up a storm, using fuck left, right, and center. And it fits the vibes. And I think this is going to be a really good like summer thriller horror. So I might try to squeeze this in during Summerween. Hadn't really planned to read another book other than the Riley Sager, but I could be convinced. So I grabbed these two thriller books, and then like I said, I grabbed The Will of Many. I decided to pass on the Claire Legrand because people that loved Furyborn were really not liking that book, and it made me a little concerned, so I wanted to wait until some people that I knew and trusted verified that one before I decided to pick it up. But yeah, I'm gonna go to my meeting and try not to panic, and I will talk to you guys when I'm home, settled, and probably have gotten a little further into The Dead of Winter. Hey guys, so I have just finished Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates, and I quite enjoyed this one. I won't say that it's my new favorite Darcy Coates. I feel like it's probably going to be a little bit on the lower scale of my favorites from her, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. This is an isolated setting, a one-by-one trope. It ticks off a lot of my buzzwords. I will say that I found this one to be slightly formulaic, where we were hitting the notes that you would expect this type of story to hit, and so nothing was very surprising. And unfortunately, I think that took away a little bit of the thrilling aspect of it for me, while Darcy's writing still is extremely engaging because everything was hitting the expected notes. Nothing surprised me. Nothing was like, oh, wait, what's going to happen next? You knew what was going to happen next. And so even though it was supposed to be more of a thriller than a mystery, and the bad guy at the end wasn't supposed to be like this huge shocking twist, it still lost a little bit of the thrill for me just because of how formulaic it was. But like I said, I still enjoyed Darcy Coates' writing. I still enjoyed her depictions. Krista, the main character, did grate on my nerves a little bit. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was about her. She's a little self-righteous, but also self-pitying, and I don't really know that that combination worked super well for me. I didn't dislike her, but I just didn't find myself like really caring or rooting for her, which is something that I feel like I should have been. I actually was rooting for some of the other characters, but I liked this. So next up, I'm not really sure what I am going to read. I had planned to definitely read the Riley Sager, so that is absolutely coming. Like, before this vlog ends, I will be reading the new Riley Sager, you bet. But I also bought the Burn the Negative today when I was at Barnes & Noble, and I realized it doesn't come out until next week. And it's pretty short. And so I'm like, could I read that tonight? Could I read that today? Maybe. And then I also have one of the Eric LaRocca short story collections that is really short in and of itself. It's like 200 pages. And one of the prompts for Summerween is to read a novella. So that could be on my potential too. I've never read an Eric LaRocca before, and so I really want to try out his writing. I wasn't able to get the black book from him today. The one that they had a copy of was pretty damaged, like, but especially like around the corners of the cover and then on the spine, so ended up not picking that one up. But I do still really want to try his writing, so the world is my oyster. Keep watching to find out what I'm gonna read next. You guys, it is getting kind of late, but this book, like, I was just gonna read a chapter of it and then probably flip over to the Riley Sager, but I started Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. I am so intrigued. I'm like, I don't know, how far am I? Like 30-ish pages in, and I am so intrigued. We've had a little bit of like overuse of the American slash British differences and how she was American and now she's British, and that's been a little bit heavy-handed and that's getting kind of annoying, and hopefully it'll stop soon. But like, this book is so interesting so far. I think that we're going to have a little supernatural element, but I'm not really sure how this is going to play out. There's like creepy sing-songs, there's people dying that aren't actually there. Like, I'm so hooked. Like, hopefully I can actually sleep tonight and not stay up reading this because I'm getting very tired, but all I want to do is continue and know what's going on. Just note too, though, it does have some mixed media in it, which it's pretty slight. It's in between chapters, so it's not like it's every page or anything like that. The main narrative is normal, but the in between the chapters are like interviews from people and documentaries from the time of the 90s when this movie was happening, and like when people were dying and what was going on. So I am finding that those parts interesting. To me, it makes it feel more realistic, but I know some people don't love mixed media and stories, and some people do absolutely love it. So I did want to mention that it was there, but like, I'm having a fantastic time. Roughly halfway into Burn the Negative by Josh Winning, and I'm not liking it quite as much as I was in the beginning. It's not bad, like it's very, very easy to read and super quick to fly through, but I don't know, when the sister came in and we were getting just a little too much extra commentary, and the sister, I don't know, just their dynamic is kind of weird, and we're getting a lot more like with the psychic and seances, and I don't know, there's something about it that I'm not quite as intrigued by, and I'm a little concerned about the direction that it's gonna go. But like I said, it's super easy to read. I'm flying through it, and the parts that are intriguing are really creepy and really intriguing, but then the rest of it in between kind of loses me until those moments again. And so I just don't know how it's gonna go like throughout the whole book, and I'm a little concerned about the direction. I don't know if it's gonna go in like a super quirky, seance-y, supernatural kind of way, if it's gonna lean like a totally supernatural direction, if we're gonna try to use the mental health as a plot device. Like, I'm not really sure. Right now, I am a little bit concerned that we're gonna use mental health as a plot device, and I don't love that in most cases, but it can be done in a way that I don't dislike. It just kind of depends. So we'll see. I don't know exactly what direction it's headed right now, but I'm hopeful that it'll like turn around and start to pick up for me. I don't mind if it goes weird even. All this extra little commentary stuff in between about Winona Ryder movies and a lot of this stuff in her past that just doesn't seem relevant is kind of pulling me out of the story a little bit, because I'm like, okay, I don't care about that. Let's get back to your past that's relevant, or the creep factor, or things that are actively going on, not Winona Ryder movies. Good morning, everyone. Let's chat about Burn the Negative while I make my coffee this morning. So, do I want iced coffee or do I want hot coffee? I want iced coffee this morning. So, Burn the Negative. I think that this book did exactly what it was trying to do. Let me start there. I think that it was attempting to be a certain thing that led me slightly astray when I was looking at the synopsis and reading the first couple of pages. But I do think it did what it intended to do. However, it did kind of lose me going in that particular direction. I was expecting this to have a lot more about the movie that they were currently working on, and about the like similarities between this old movie and this new TV show, and Laura was at the middle of it, and there was a needle man, and everything was kind of creepy and happening, and we were following the show. That is not at all what we got. yes, that's there, but it's definitely in the periphery. It's much more focused on Laura and kind of her past and her relationships and things like that, more so than it was the It Feeds show and about the Needleman. I just think that my expectations for this going in were a little bit off, and I don't necessarily think that that's my fault or the book's fault. I think that it was just because of kind of the way the synopsis in the first couple of pages set things up. I think that this book, like I said, did exactly what it was supposed to do. It lost me a little bit. I will say that I did like the ending of it. I thought that the ending was a cool way to kind of draw everything back full circle and not just kind of be a cop-out horror ending. I really liked the way that it ended. I think it'll probably be a 3-star because I don't want to completely fault the book on doing what it was trying to do, but unfortunately my enjoyment and my intrigue definitely went down with it going the direction that it went. So I want to tell you that it is a certain thing and that's the direction, but I feel like that sets too many expectations and then you'll kind of know how it's going to end. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, I know that this review may not be overly helpful, but I do not want to spoil the book. I would just say be aware going in that this is much more focused on Laura as a character and the things going on in her life and her past than it is the Needleman and the It Feeds TV show and the parallels between the two. So I think that this book could have been really, really, really good. Like, it had the potential to be a 5-star, but yeah, Josh Whitting took it in a direction that was not my favorite. So I am finally, though, about to go read The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I cannot put it off any longer. That is my next book. I am utterly terrified because, like I said, Riley Sager's given me some 5-stars, some of my favorite books, and then he's given me some 1 or 2 stars, some of my least favorite books. And I am very scared to find out which one this will be. I have heard people absolutely loving it. It's one of their new favorite Riley Sagers. I have heard people thinking that it goes a little too off the wall crazy, which concerns me, but I'm in the thriller mood, and I think I'm a little bit more forgiving when I'm in the thriller mood than when I'm in like an epic high fantasy mood where I'm like, okay, everything must make sense down to the exact number. Like, it still has to make sense. It still has to make logical sense. But like, there being little things bothers me less, I guess, if that makes sense, when I'm in the thriller mood. So please, please, please let this be a new, like, 4, I'll take a 4-star. I'll take a 4-star, but I cannot put it off any longer. So I'm gonna go read that after we do the backlist live show, because that is this morning for Red Sister, but that's not the rest of my day. The rest of my day is going to be reading The Only One Left. So I wanted to give a quick update because I'm about 150-ish pages into The Only One Left so far, and I'm pretty bored. I hate to say that, but I am. I feel like there's not really a lot going on. We're kind of hammering the same stuff over and over again. We are getting a little bit more information, and there are slowly starting to have things develop, so I am getting more intrigued. And as always, I do like Riley Sager's writing style, so it's not that it's difficult to read or unengaging because of that. It's just, this is very much so like a gothic type story. I find that gothic stories have a tendency to over explain things and to over like describe things, and so we're getting a lot of what this mansion looks like and the fact that it's hanging off the side of a cliff, and then we get all of this like very intricate details into Lenora's routine, and it's very much so giving me like old feels, which I think is intentional. Even though it's supposed to be set in the 80s, this house is like stuck in a time capsule of the 20s, and that is intentional, but I don't care. Like, you can tell me a little bit and you can set the scene, but it doesn't have to be hammered over and over and over and over and over again how weak Lenora is, how unable to do things for herself that she is. And I'm getting a little bit bored with the repetitiveness of that, and I have a feeling I'm going to find this book to be a little bit on the long side, but we are slowly getting a little bit more into the plot and the mystery, and so I'm hoping it picks up soon. But in case you have no idea what this book is about, like I didn't, it is a gothic thriller, gothic setting where we are following a young woman who has, for reasons that I won't say, been basically fired from her jobs, and she is a caregiver, and she is looking to try to find her next position. And because nobody else wants it, they give her the position of caring for Lenora Hope, who is a woman accused of killing her entire family, Lizzie Borden style, at 17 years old. And she's kind of the boogeyman of this town. So our main character goes to this mansion and meets the other staff and is going to be her caregiver. I think essentially that's all you really need to know. I feel like anything more than that, A, I haven't gotten to yet, and B, would be a little bit on the spoiler sides for a thriller, so I'm probably not going to say much more than that. I'm really hopeful for this one that it is going to pick up and turn around, because it's a lot of people's like second or third favorite Riley Sager book. I think Rye just finished it and gave it a really high 4-star, really enjoyed it, so I'm hopeful. I don't love the fact that Riley Sager seems to always be leaning into the supernatural now, and I'm like, okay, that plot device is not going well. And I don't know that it's going to be supernatural. I just kind of get those feels, and I'm hopeful that it's not, honestly. But I don't know. Like, he's been doing that. He's been playing with that ever since Home Before Dark. So we'll see. I don't know. It could be supernatural. It could be not at all. I could be getting the vibes, and that's not the vibes' intentions. So I don't know. But we'll see. I'm going to continue maybe a little bit more tonight, and then I'm hoping to finish it off tomorrow, but there are a lot of Summerween vlogs coming out, so I do want to catch up on those, and so I may just lay in bed and watch BookTube for a little while. We had a busy day today. I planned to read more, but we actually ended up going to the local like outdoor mall area, eating lunch. I had to take my computer in because the spacebar was sticking, and the spacebar is like something I use for everything, I realized, not just typing. So went and got that fixed. It was super easy. Did a little bit of like basic shopping and then came home, but by that point it was like 5 o'clock, and so I didn't get a ton of reading time in. So fingers crossed I can make a huge chunk, if not finish it tomorrow, and get this video up for you guys. Alright guys, so it is time to talk about my final thoughts on The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I think I'm going to be the unpopular opinion here and say that this is not one of my favorites. It's not my least favorite by any means, but it does kind of sit middle of the road for me. For the most part, I just don't think that this is the type of story for me. I'm not somebody that loves a super descriptive, gothic, atmospheric type story, and that is very much the way he leaned into here. He definitely leaned into the atmosphere and kind of the descriptions and the slow burn aspect of this story. It is more mystery to me than it is thriller. I think I'm typically used to Riley Sager leaning into his thriller vibes, but this one does lean a little more mystery to me. I will say that this book is extremely well plotted, at least for the first twist, and I thought that everything kind of lined up and hit exactly what it should have in order for everything to come together at the end. Yet I didn't completely guess the ending, and so I was very pleased by that, but I could clearly see back to what he was going for. So I did really enjoy that. As always, I think it is really well written. I think that he did a great job with the prose, and it was compelling even when I was bored, which sadly, due to the nature of the story, I was often bored. I think that it's well written. However, those last 50 pages or so, I just felt like were completely unnecessary. I feel like a lot of authors have a tendency in thrillers to feel like they have to throw in all of these twists. Like, 1 is not good enough. Let's do 4. And I just don't feel like it's needed. There was one particular aspect of this story that I didn't feel like was necessary. And so unfortunately, it really took me out of the story because it caused me to stop and go, wait, what? No. And when that happens, rather than me being shocked and awed, because it wasn't shocking, at least not to me, it just pulled me completely out of the story. And I had a really hard time kind of getting back into that final 50 pages or so. So I think that that's more of a me thing and what type of thriller reader I am. If you're gonna throw in more than one twist, I need them to feel authentic. And while I can see where he got these twists, they felt like they were just there to give you another twist. It didn't feel like that was a natural progression to the story. It just felt like, well, here's another twist. Oh, I'm not done. Here's another twist. And I don't know, I didn't love that part of the story. I think this is probably going to be a high 2-star, maybe a low 3-star, but probably more like a high 2-star for me. I think that it's well done. I think that it has its audience, but this audience The audience, I don't think, was me. However, I still quite like Riley Sager and Riley Sager's writing. Like I said, I like the way that he plotted the story. I don't think it's necessarily his fault that I'm not a big Gothic fan. So I just wanted something a little else, a little more original. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of going off on a tangent at this point, but don't regret reading it. We'll absolutely pick up his next book. I think that I can understand why people would love this, but it's definitely kind of middle to lower end of my Riley Sager ranking. So there you have it, the 5 books that I read for Summerween. So let's go through these really quick and see if I actually managed to hit most of the prompts, because I will be honest, I did not pay nearly as much attention to the prompts as I probably should have. So let me pull up their Instagram really quick and let's see how many of these prompts I actually managed to hit. So read a book in the dark. I definitely listened to a lot of this book while I was laying in bed right before I went to bed. So I definitely read a decent amount of this in the dark. Read a thriller. Honestly, I mean, I feel like this leaned a lot mystery, but it was intended to be a thriller. So I think that this one would count for read a thriller. Book that takes place in the fall. I don't know that I was successful with that one. Does this one take place in the fall? It doesn't exactly say whether Burn the Negative took place in the fall. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to probably say I did not complete that one. Read a book with orange or black on the cover. Definitely could count. You know, these have black on the cover. This one is black and like an orangey red. So I think that I definitely managed to hit that one. And read a manga, graphic novel, or novella. I did not hit, unfortunately. I was going to read the Eric LaRocca and just kind of ran out of time. Honestly, that was going to be my novella. So I had good intentions, but I didn't quite manage to hit that one. So I got a decent amount of the prompts done. I feel successful. This was so much fun. Like, I love that they host this every year because I am a spooky season gal. I love spooky season. I thrive in the fall, and right now we are melting here in the South. And so it's kind of nice sometimes to just pull back a little bit and enjoy a little spooky for a week or so. So thank you so much to Gabby and Olivia for hosting this. Once again, it is so much fun. There are all the Summerween vlogs out. So if you happen to find my channel just because of Summerween, let me know down in the comments. I would love to know that. If you're just here hanging out and maybe you don't read horror or thriller, or maybe you just don't have much to say, leave me a ghost emoji because that's kind of the theme of this whole thing. Thank you guys so very much for watching. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!